Question 1. For each graph below, give the slope, the y-intercept, and the equation. So in order to write an equation, we need two pieces of information. We need to know the slope, and we need to know the y-intercept. Well, here we have a line here. So the first thing we need to do is find two easily recognizable points on the graph. When I say that, I mean points that fall right on an even coordinate. Right here, it falls in between the units or the squares, so it's not really easy to write down what that coordinate is. Here, it crosses right over a line that's easy to identify. So we can use this coordinate, 0, -5, and we can use this coordinate, another easy to recognize point, 2, -4. Now we have two methods to figure out what the slope is. The first method is simply to count the units of rise over run. So in this case, we can see that the run is 2 and the rise is 1. So we could write that as 1/2. So there's our slope. That's method 1. Method 2 is to use the equation m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So our values for y2 are -4. Value for y1 is -5 over 2 minus 0. Again, gives us a slope of 1/2. Two different methods, both giving us the right answer. Now the second thing that we need to know in order to write an equation is we need to know what the y-intercept is. And we can see this fairly easily just following the line where it crosses the y-axis. Tells us that the y-intercept is -5. We have enough information now to write our equation. Y equals 1/2 x minus 5. Question B, we're given another graph, and we want to find two easily recognizable points. So here I've chosen -1, 2, and 0, -4. Once again, we have two methods for figuring out what the slope is now. The first method is to simply count the units. So following the animation of the green line on the graph, we move 1 over, that's our run, and then down 6, that's our rise. Our rise over run is -6 over 1, or just simply -6. Our second method, again, is using the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We simply plug in the values, -4 minus 2 over 0 minus -1 gives us again the same answer, the slope of -6. To find the y-intercept, we simply look at the point where the line or the graph crosses the y-axis, and we can see that that is -4. We have enough information now to write our equation. Y equals -6x minus 4. Use the given information to write the equation of each line in the form y equals mx plus b, or what we now call slope-intercept form. So, A, if a line has a slope of -3 and a y-intercept of -2, we can simply write y equals -3x minus 2. In question B, it's asking the same thing, but instead of calling it slope, it refers to it as m, which is the same thing. And instead of calling it a y-intercept, it refers to it as b, which again is the same thing as y-intercept. So we have enough information to simply write y equals 4x plus 3. For question C, we're told that the line or the equation that we want to write is parallel to y equals 3x minus 5 and has a y-intercept of 8. Well, if it's parallel to an equation 3x minus 5, that tells us that the m value or the slope is 3 as well. So if we know the slope is 3 and the y-intercept is 8, we can write y equals 3x plus 8. Question D, we're told that our line is going to be parallel to y equals 5, and the y-intercept is going to be negative 3. Now, if it's parallel to y equals 5, it does not have any x coefficient. So the slope is going to be 0. And the y-intercept is negative 3, so it's basically y equals 0x minus 3. And since we don't need to write the 0x, we simply write y equals negative 3. Use the given information to write the equation of each line. Well, to write the equation of any line, we need to know, again, the slope and the y-intercept. We're told what the slope is, but we are not told what the y-intercept is. We are, however, told what the values of x and y are. So, if m equals negative 2, y equals 0, x equals 0, we plug the values that we know into the equation y equals mx plus b and solve for b. Solving for b means simply finding out what the value of b is. So we take all those values that we know what y is 0, we know what m is, negative 2, we know what x is, 0, plus b, which we're trying to solve for. So, with this information, we can find out that b has a value of 0 once we solve for b. And now that we know that b is 0 and the slope is negative 2, we have enough information to write our equation. Question 3. Once again, we're told the slope, we're told the values of a point, x and y, 6 and negative 2, but we are not told what b is. We do have enough information, however, to solve for b. Once again, we simply plug the values of what we know into the equation y equals mx plus b, and then solve for b. So y has a value of negative 2, m is 1/3, x is 6, and we're trying to solve for b. We plug the values that we know into this equation, y equals mx plus b, and simply solve for b. We end up with a value for b of negative 4. If m is 1/3 and b is negative 4, we can write y equals 1/3 x minus 4. Here we're told the slope is 4, x is 4, y is 8. We need to know what b is. Plug in the values for m, y, and x into our equation and solve for b. Y is 8, m is 4, x is 4, and b we don't know yet. But now we can solve for b. we end up with a value of -8 for b. We now have enough information to write our equation. Y equals 4x minus 8. Question 4 asks us to graph the lines from question 3 to check our work. And we can use Desmos to make our job a little bit easier. So, question A from part 3, we had an equation of y equals -2x. So we graph that using Desmos, and we can see that it passes through the point 0, 0, and it does indeed have a slope of -2. From question 3, we figured out that part B, the equation would be y equals 1/3 x minus 4. And we can see that it passes through the point 6, -2. Right here. And we can also see that for every for every 3 units, it heads along the x-axis, it goes up 1 unit along the y-axis. Part C, we were told that the slope was 4, and it passed through the point 4, 8. So if we look at this green line here, we can see that it does indeed pass through the point 4, 8, and it has a relatively steep slope of 4.